Ladies and gentlemen, dudes and dudettes, my audience migrating over from my Sean Cross YouTube channel as well as my TSK Beowulf channel. Welcome all to the Anatomy Podcast. Welcome to our guest as well, in which today it is going to be my good friend, Greg Gilbert, formerly from Shrine and now participating in new projects. Plenty to talk about today. But as I said before, to my good friend, the Anatomy Podcast is broken up into two categories. We have the first band member or like musician part, the person himself just learning their story, how they became a musician, and then we'll really be diving into what anatomy means. And I mean, anatomy is all the vital organs. It's all the important stuff that allows a being, an idea to prosper, to move forward, to create their own ideas, all that fun stuff. But as I said, this is Greg Gilbert. He is my guest today. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing, Sean?
Not too bad. And definitely a busy week for you, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, we started getting the Null Existence stuff mixed and mastered. And I've just been kind of out all week working, driving around Las Vegas, Sin City. But yeah, it's been a good week.
Prosperous
Glad for the weekend.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Definitely.
So
happy to have the weekend.
Oh yeah, me too. It's nice to have a solid routine. And after all, human beings are about patterns. So it's nice to have a sense of consistency. But moving into the first part, we will be talking about your story so far.
Sure.
Everything that's been going on recently, how you became a musician, how you got into music. Take it away.
All right. So let's start with how I wanted to become a musician. So this might be kind of interesting for some people, but my cousin Angel, he's in a band called Calamity and Joy. Shout out him. When I was like 5 years old, so funny enough, the cousin I was just talking about, he's coming over to go somewhere with my grandpa.
Oh, fun.
So anyway, yeah, my cousin, he was into like rock, stuff like Papa Roach, Escape the Fate, Suicide Silence, just kind of like that early wave of like metalcore, deathcore, new metal, that sort of stuff. And for some reason, Escape the Fate always stuck with me. And I never knew they were like a Las Vegas band or anything like that. It was just like the music, and specifically just like the really hard-hitting, like emotional songs off their first record, Dying Is Your Latest Fashion. And from there, just kind of spiraled. My dad was into stuff like Slayer, so like I was already kind of introduced to thrash metal and a little bit of death metal. And I got older, and I just started wanting to try screaming. Never got really into guitar or anything like that. I played saxophone in middle school, and baritone a little bit like my freshman year of high school, but I never went too far with doing either of those. But for some reason, vocals stuck with me, and I always wanted to use that as an outlet, because those early songs like The Day I Left the Womb and like Cellar Door, they just stuck with me as a kid. And then you fast forward to around 2015, 2016, and Chris Paz, guitarist of Shrine of Malice, one of my best friends, I asked him if he wanted to be in my band, and he was like, nah, I'm already in a band, blah, blah, blah. And we ended up making music in a band called Looks Like Medusa. It has one single. If anyone's ever interested, it was called Pestilence. Yeah, Pestilence by Looks Like Medusa. This is the first song any of us ever did. And it's funny to look back on, that one single to going to doing like Malignance, when I was a senior in high school, right at the end of that, and into Shoal. And we did another album, not released. Everyone knows why, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And yeah, now I've just kind of been taking time to um yeah, start learning how to kind of engineer and record myself so I can record some of my own stuff, and doing vocals for a couple different projects, to name. Cries of Christ is still doing stuff. We have a song that
Yeah.
we're working on that's finished. Um, and there's Null Existence, which we just did a 3-song EP, which we're working on getting mixed and mastered right now by Phil Plaskoda. And then Lothbrook, which is my new project, which I'm secretive about and don't like to tell anyone because I want it to be perfect.
Right. And after all, a project named after the first king of Norway, that has to have a whole, like, there's a lot of, I don't know, like, speaking as
Okay.
an ossature and
Yeah.
stuff, there's like a lot of expectation, I guess, because like that's a lot of history. That's like major history for
Yeah.
Vikings culture. So I'm really excited to hear how that ends up turning out when the time comes. And I mean, hell, if you want to jump back on the podcast with us at that point
Oh,
as well
definitely. Yeah.
and kind of
I'd be down to
discuss
talk about it
Lothbrok,
more.
yeah, like that would be awesome. Well, to say the least, there have been many projects that you have participated in. Have you been the lyrical figurehead behind most of the projects so far?
Oh boy. Dude, I love writing, honestly, Sean. That's probably my favorite part about being a vocalist is writing the lyrics and structuring a story.
Right.
Um so yeah, I mean, every now and then, I've had people, interject some stuff and be like, "Hey, what if you did this?" But for the most part, when you listen to, my features or any of the records I've done or songs, that's all been, what I was thinking lyrically for the most part. Um yeah, I love writing, man.
Yeah.
There's just something about sitting down and penning out your thoughts and m- keeping the emotion in it and the rawness, but just making it more mechanical to fit into, the structure of a verse. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's a little bit cathartic, and I enjoy it because it lets you express how you feel.
Yeah, without a doubt. And speaking from a fellow lyricist and someone who's also planning on writing a book, writing a sci-fi fantasy novel, I
That's
completely
awesome.
understand. Yeah, it's going to be so much fun, and I cannot emphasize because I've been working on it since elementary school. And just kind of a
Mhm.
quick tangent, speaking for properties in the future and content that I'm going to be narrative that I'm going to be utilizing for the projects that I'm wanting to do. Let's just say I'm writing a novel. I'm piecing together a couple novels right now. I did back in elementary. I had a 3-book novel and then I tossed it. So
Mhm.
like I've been working on that for a long time, and to say the least, kind of like making sure I don't tangent too long onto myself because this is about the guest. Um,
No, that's all right.
like so much is going to happen, and I'm so excited for everybody to experience it. But tell me one thing, as a fellow
What's up?
lyricist and stuff, what has been your favorite song to write so far lyrically, and why?
So okay, there's some of the newer stuff I've been writing is some of my favorite stuff I think I've come up with to date in between the Null Existence EP that's coming out in Lothbrook. But when it comes to songs that are already released, like
Yeah.
Coffin is one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. I
Oh
think
yeah.
the emotion that was in that song at the time was perfect.
Mhm.
It explains how I feel, even still today. And there's songs that are like epic stories that I've written, and that's what Malignance and Show, where I was trying to write these epic novels almost into these deathcore records, and I think I accomplished that, but a little bit along the way you get lost in the story with it. So there's parts I don't really relate to as much now, so it's like I have a hard time being like, do I just not like this, or is this like really great? Just because I'm a perfectionist by nature
Right.
is my worst trait. But the songs that I find that I write, that I look back and I'm like, oh wow, like that said what I wanted to say, even if I had no idea what I was saying at the time. Like it said exactly how I felt. Those are the ones that I love out of the even unreleased songs, like
Yeah.
close to 100 that we wrote and I tracked vocals to, and I was just like, these are cool at the time. Then you reflect back and you're like, man, why didn't I do this?
Yeah.
I have a problem, being a perfectionist with my lyrics, but I to a degree I'm proud of all of it, because
Yeah.
I set my mind out to write these epic stories, and I did, and people enjoyed them, and so I did my job, is how I feel.
Yeah.
But the inner perfectionist in me is just always like, like I could have done better.
Yeah. I could have done this, could have done that, maybe
Yeah,
changed up the words a
always.
little bit.
Always.
Yeah.
Why didn't I sing more? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my thing now. I'm like, I want to sing. Yeah.
Dude, I want to hear that, because like I can't lie. So speaking on my behalf, I sent you and all the guys about $10 each, because I thought the unreleased Oberth record was really, really phenomenal.
I
And
love you,
the yeah, the opening
by the way.
track, yeah, I love you too, my guy. Um, the opening track for Oberth, when you're just like I can't even describe the way that you were singing, but like it felt exactly like an epic. It felt like something that could be done in a play or maybe a theater performance, and you're just
Mhm.
like looking over, like cheap little I don't even know how to describe it, like cheap little hill prop, and you're just like
Yeah.
looking over everybody and kind of overseeing and observing, and like that's just like the mightiness, just like the glory, the honor, and all
I
this
appreciate
energy
that.
that was flowing in. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. And I think I've listened to the record, I think 6 different times now on Russian websites.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, it's great. It's great. And I made sure to establish the worth of the record. And shit happened. We don't talk
Yeah,
about
whatever.
shit anymore. But it was a great record either way, and it can be heard. So that's the coolest part about it. I guess vocalist to vocalist,
Sure.
growing up, who was your biggest inspiration as far as vocals? Period.
Dude, this is a fucking funny one, but Ronnie Radke. I love
Oh
Ronnie
boy.
Radke. Yeah, I know. Oh boy. Yeah, exactly. No, dude, those songs just they smacked, bro. There's something about those songs early on that were even just the vocal performance, and even the stuff he does now, where I'm just like, the production is epic, but you like these vocals are like god tier.
Yeah.
Like I just I really admired, his voice then, just because I thought it sounded good. But like even now, like looking at it from the vocal, production
Hmm.
aspect and performance, I'm just like, holy shit.
Right.
Like that is like where I'm trying to get my voice to be as a singer, And then that guy is just, he's been doing it for, how old is he? Like 30, 35. I don't know. He's old man. He's been doing it like 20 years. And so
Right.
it's just like I want to be there, but it's like, you have to go through some of the hiccups that you hear on records.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
and you get better with each one.
So speaking from a neutral standpoint on Falling in Reverse, because me
Okay,
personally, not really
sure.
that big of a fan,
Most
but
people, yeah.
do you prefer Ronnie Radke from Escape? Because I think I remember him being in Escape the Fate, right? And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So the earlier records for Escape the Fate
yeah, dying is
versus,
your latest fashion.
oh yeah, 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 for sure. Versus anything that he's done on Falling in Reverse. Which one do you prefer?
Dude, I love everything he's done.
Mm, for sure.
I even like his fucking mixtape, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't I grew up on that shit. So there's like a part of it where it's like this stuff isn't amazing, but it's still like I like it.
It has a place in your heart.
So yeah, exactly. I don't know, that dude just he sometimes says shit that I think, so from the like artist to artist, like even like human connection, you know, with just the lyrics, not even as like a human being in person, because I'm not fucking Ronnie Radke. Never will want to be Ronnie Radke. Don't. I'm me. I'm whoever the fuck this is.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a respect for that because it comes from a very genuine place.
Right, right, undoubtedly. Now, kind of speaking again as a vocalist, you said you wanted to sample some advice, some like suggestions and all that other stuff as far as vocal
Sure.
technique. So if you want to, we can take a couple minutes. We can take up until about
Yeah.
like 12:25. Take it
Okay.
away, my friend. What do you have to say as far as sampling? Just kind of like the sample product and stuff. And obviously, anybody who wants to know, this guy is a vocal coach. I respect him. He was my vocal coach, 2 different lessons, really, really solid guy. And he knows how to explain the techniques and the legacy that he's built so far as a vocalist. But what would be your kind of routing advice for new vocalists?
Okay. So starting vocals, you have to know all of the parts of your body you're going to end up using to do vocals. So the first one, which is where we all start, is our diaphragm. And everyone talks about the diaphragm, and it's like, yeah, if you know, it's like the umbrella shaped group of muscles that is like right under our ribs. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, that doesn't explain it enough, in my opinion. So what I like to tell people, and bear with me, is push your fingers right under the front of your ribs and take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. And you'll feel those muscles move. You can do that in the sides of your ribs, same motion, in through your mouth, or in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then in your lower back if you feel in the same spot and same motion. So I like to refer to that area as your support band. That's where your vocals all start. And even when you're doing your screams, you know, you're going to feel most of that tension in your gut around from, you know, the sides of your ribs all the way to your back, you know, where your lungs are. So when you're breathing and you feel that motion, that's what your body's doing, even when you're screaming. It's just really exaggerated. Sorry, my nose is stuffy.
You're fine.
And then from your diaphragm, that's all going up your air passageway. And all your air passageway is it's the little canal that, depending on how much air you've pushed through it, determines how, closed its position is or how open and full it is. So, and you control that with, stuff like breathing exercises. The more of your breathing exercises that you do, the more full your air passageway's position is going to be. So your diaphragm and your air passageway really work together. The harder you push, the more warmed up you get from your diaphragm and just preparing all of those muscles, the more expanded your air passageway is going to get because they're working in conjunction with each other. Jeez. And then we go to your vocal cords, and all your vocal cords are ever doing is just vibrating. And an example of this I like to use a lot is taking both of your hands and just moving the fingertips of them back and forth. And that's what your vocal cords are doing. They're just flowing from the air that you're pushing up when you're going, that air vibrates your vocal cords and it starts creating a scream.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 pieces all work together. And if you understand how those flow and warm each other up, and how the amount of air you're projecting out affects, how your vocal cords vibrate. Because, say, with like a high, you're going to have a tighter vocal cord shape because you're pulling your voice together a little bit. And so I wish I had a webcam so I could show you guys this, but you're like, put your hands together really close and then do that motion. And then it's like your hands can kind of like hit together. And that's what's happening when you over project into like a high. And that's why like some people will be like, oh, my highs hurt. Well, it's because what you're projecting is too much. You need to dial back a little bit to allow that, stream of air to just flow and let your vocal cords vibrate in the position that they're sitting in. Same with lows. Lows are much more open. So you can project a lot more air. You could project, say, 80% air into a low, whereas that 80% into a high is just going to distort it and make it kind of feel raw and hurt, right? And then all of those things travel from your diaphragm, air passageway, vocal cords out of your mouth. And there's a couple different parts of your mouth that we need to know about. There's your jaw, your lips, your tongue, and your teeth. Your jaw can control the pitch of a scream. So you could take a low and open your jaw up more and you'll get a mid. Or you can take a low and drop the bottom of your jaw and keep your mouth closed and you'll get a more guttural kind of low, deeper resonation from your low, right? So with that in mind, if you can perfect your low technique, you will be able to do a mid with time and you'll be able to do gutturals with time. It's all just a matter of finding all of the little sweet spots in your voice and how much should you be projecting? Are you fully warmed up? Those little things. How much water have you drinking? All of that stuff is important because at the end of the day, these parts of our body that we're using are very small. So we have to look at the most minute kind of small things, and this is something I heard David from the Extreme Vocal Institute. I think it was a thing he did with Dan Watson, where Dan Watson said, I try to hydrate, and don't quote me on this exact word for word, verbatim, but he tries to hydrate 24 hours before he does vocals. I've, incorporated that into my own practice, and I do find that that helps my voice. And, I think when you take little things like that into consideration, it goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can just do the little things for our just basic general health, like focusing on our breathing and doing breathing exercises and stuff like that throughout your day, you don't have to worry about going to warm up when, you're just jumping into vocals because you've been, doing all of your stuff throughout your day anyway.
Right.
And, that turns into your routine. So, for me, like, I have it down to where I drink probably like, I don't know how much water's in this bottle. 16 fluid ounces. I probably drink like a gallon of water a day.
And that's good.
Sometimes a little bit more. So if you can get yourself into a cycle where you're drinking about that gallon in like your full 24 hours and sometimes more water, you'll get into a habit and, your mind where you'll already know everything in your voice is lubricated. So you don't have to worry about drinking a bunch of water during your practice.
Right.
And it's eliminating, different stresses and causes. And I know we're going to go a little bit over time here with this segment, but something else I'll go ahead and say is if I don't forget, like an absolute piece of shit. Yeah, if you can get yourself into a routine, you're going to have a much easier time as a vocalist, and the mental stresses will go away, and you're going to be able to focus more on what you're doing physically. I always say that vocals are 50% mental, 50% physical. If you
Mhm.
can figure out how to do something mentally, you're halfway there. So that's a lot of what I try to go over in lessons, is giving you the actual knowledge to be able to reflect on this stuff, on your own time, and solve your own, you know, stuff along your vocal journey. Because once you start doing that, like, you become unstoppable.
Right.
And that's all I want to do, is just give people proper information.
Yep.
Because there's just so much misinformation on the internet, and I'm not saying anyone specifically. I'm just saying, like, from a long time ago, when a lot of vocalists, like from my pool came up, we had a lot of, like, not really great information, and we've had to learn a lot of it. And
Yeah.
I just want to be able to share accurate information, and stuff that I've tried, and had other vocalists try, and themselves benefit.
Mhm.
And the share of knowledge is number one, in my opinion, for all of this stuff.
Exactly. And it's all about community. It's all about exchanging the information, because otherwise you have the big shots like Caleb Shomo, Oliver Sykes, Lawrence Taylor, who, I mean, they had education over time from the likes of Janet. I think her name is Janet Cross, older lady, really, really sweet. And they've had to go through surgeries because they blow out their voice.
Yeah.
So quite evidently, that was a little sample from Mr. Greg Gilbert on behalf of his vocal teaching, in which, again, I've been a student of his 2 different times before. And I mean, on my behalf, like, I'm stupid and I don't really recycle the important stuff that often, because I've been self-taught for about 7 years, and then I decided to go to Greg, see what I can learn, and I did learn a couple things, but more or less it was my fault that, like, I haven't progressed because I haven't, like, put the time into it, but it's because I'm exploring so many other avenues. But thank you, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Greg Gilbert, my good friend,
Yeah.
for sharing and sampling your vocal lessons with us. And by all means, everybody who's listening to this, if you're wanting to get into vocal lessons, if you're wanting to have a pretty thorough and very, very down to earth, chill vocal teacher, Greg is the guy, guaranteed. And his lessons are super
I
cheap.
appreciate it.
Of course, by all means. So, jumping into the next part, and what will be the last part today for the podcast, we have the anatomy part itself. What is anatomy? Anatomy is all the important organs, everything that helps a being prosper, blossom, and move forward. So, speaking on behalf of the music scene and just like everything that encompasses what a band is, we're not going to be going too far into Shrine. All I have to say is I defend Greg on behalf of everything that has gone on, and that's why he's on this podcast. So
Can I
Yes,
mention
sir.
one thing?
Yes, sir.
Rest in peace, Aviana. That's all I'll say. Just
Yeah, exactly. Rest in peace. So speaking on behalf of all the projects that you have participated in so far, I guess the first part would be the mind. What have been the most important lessons that you've learned in what you have done so far?
I made a Facebook post about that. I said some of the things that I thought were important. Some of the most important ones that I've learned, and not just through music, but just life.
Yeah.
Never lie, no
Mhm.
matter what it is. Just be honest, because it saves you the hassle of trying to keep up with your own bullshit, and you're not the boy who cries wolf.
Right. Right. Exactly.
2 is remain humble, because someone will always be better than you somehow. And that's not said from a pessimistic perspective. That's just said from
A more realistic perspective.
yeah, exactly. It's the real fact that, hey, one day, 10 years down the line, there's going to be a kid doing this who will be better than you. And matter of fact is, I'm excited for that kid. I want him to do well. And so I want to have the knowledge to be able to give that back where I didn't have some of it. And don't fucking trust nobody. G shit.
Fair enough. Okay. I mean, after all, despite it being the counterculture music business scene, I guess you can call it, of today, no matter what, unfortunately, we all still have bad apples going on in the scene. And for the most part, in our scene specifically, the scene that me and Greg participate in, the scene that me and Devin participate in, all of the people I've had on the podcast so far, we will all have cancerous individuals, cancerous circumstances. But for the most part, we just cut that out, people. And at the end of the day, that's what's really important. Like, I always try to establish on the podcast that, just speaking for counterculture, we might be strange, we might be weird, but for all of the, just very, very vanilla white individuals who always find the culture evil, like, no, man. I mean, we might have a semi intimidating image, but we've never been about actually doing evil shit. So I just wanted to emphasize that. But
yeah,
kind of looking to the future, any details you don't want to disclose, that's completely fine. But speaking on the future, what is the most important thing for us as the audience and for fellow collaborators, fellow musicians who follow your work, participate in your work, endorse what you do? What is the most important thing for us to keep in mind going into the future for what you have yet to create?
Go follow Null Existence. That's like the most recent project I'm doing, and I'm super proud of the songs that we've done. It's a 3-song EP, but they're all relatively longer songs, setting out like 4 or 5 minutes long.
Right.
But I absolutely loved making this EP because there was a lot of trial and error along the way with making it, like learning how to record and edit and align, just the basic stuff about engineering to make something to where you give it to a producer and do it. But yeah, I did all this just like in my bedroom, and like honestly, like, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'm like, dude, this sounds like fucking sick.
Mm-hmm.
And just because Philip Pliskota is doing it, he's a monster. He did Cesspool of Ignorance by Signs of the Swarm, and he nailed that one out of the park. So like, that's another reason why I'm just like, go listen to this. This dude is so fucking good at mixing shit. Get him to do your shit. But no, I'm really excited for that project because it's a step for me back into the deathcore world with doing a record, because the last one I did wasn't allowed to be released. Not going to talk about why. We all saw. Yeah, everybody knows, nobody cares. But yeah, I'm excited to be able to just kind of give a record back, after so much like just trial and tribulation, or just like, holy fuck, like, this is garbage. Like, just everything is garbage, to being like, hey, I finally have a record again. And for me as a musician, like, that's always like, I don't know, I'm such a perfectionist to where it's like, if I don't have something to work on, I start going stir crazy really fast.
Yeah.
And this working on this EP and writing some of it, as well as some of the other stuff, I've done along the way, like a couple commissions. It's just been really exciting, because one, I got to learn a lot of stuff along the way, and I kind of, am rediscovering myself a little bit as a musician. And it's all pretty personal music for the most part.
Good.
So yeah, I'm excited for that EP to come out, and we're already kind of writing for a new album, taking it a little slow because we want to finish this one up. But yeah, then I'm working on Lothbrook, and I'm excited for that stuff. But it's like I don't have a whole lot to talk about it because
Yeah.
me and all the guys in the band, like we had a discussion about it, and we all feel the same way, and we're just like, we don't want to say nothing until we have something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Completely
it's,
understood.
and it's I like going at music from that perspective of just like, nah, we're gonna release this on our own time when it's prepared, instead of being like, we need to put this out right now.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because it feels really freeing to not like worry too much about the social media stuff and that kind of thing. And it's like I'm focusing a little bit more on the Null Existence, social media stuff right now, but that's
Right.
because we have this record and we're, getting prepared to, do something.
Yeah.
But for Lothbrook, I'm treating that really like a baby. It's because
Got to nurture it very slow, baby steps
yeah,
and all that.
yeah, that's the music that is like it has to be written from the right frame of mind.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm writing stuff for it right now, and it's like we have songs, and like in my opinion, they sound really good. Time will tell if people like them. But granted, we're still gonna make the record because we're excited to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's getting into the right frame of mind, and getting everything written, and yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And we only have about 3 minutes left before the session ends. So
for sure.
there you have it, folks. That was the Anatomy Podcast with Greg Gilbert, formerly of Shrine of Malice, and contributing to Null Existence and the Lothbrook Project, which will all be under wraps until further notice. Null Existence is a little bit more public. But kind of speaking on collaborations, I am super excited to be at least spitballing possible vocal duets between me and
Yeah,
Greg. Do you have anything to say about that?
dude, I'm down. I don't have anything to really work on too much right now.
Right.
Waiting on some of these commissions. So it's like, yeah, I'm down. Lorna Shore.
Lorna Shore, we'll be doing a handful of bands, and
We'll figure
depending
something
on
out. Yeah.
depending on how things go, this might be a regular thing. Who knows? I'm not going to speak confidently on a live stream about that, but all I know is that I do hope to
We'll do
collaborate with
one.
Miss. Yeah, we'll do
And if
one
you guys
at
like
the
it,
bare
we'll do
minimum.
more.
Exactly. It will be a sample product, and if you like it, we will be sure to do more. But this was Sean Cross, host of the Sean Cross Anatomy Podcast, all that fun stuff. We thank Mr. Greg Gilbert for taking the time to sit down and talk with us about everything that's been going on in his world recently. Of course, up to the details that he was willing to disclose. Everything else, like, everybody needs to kind of just leave it alone. It's a mute issue now. And yeah, he's a friend of mine. If anybody like has an issue with that, like, I don't even care.
Fight me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're homies. We're all about defending Greg on this channel. And thank you for your time, to say the least, and be sure to have an awesome day, my friend.
I appreciate you, Sean. Have a good rest of your day, man. Take care.
You too.